Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso, and my expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses to 7, 8, and 9 figures. And guys, this isn't a podcast telling you you should do this. This is just telling you how I did this. I want you to build a better business, take ownership of your life, and become a better leader at home and at work. And I'm going to pause 2 seconds. Mason, what do you need to fix right now? You need to fix the camera?
I keep moving.
So she's wiggling because
like
Amanda's wiggling. Yeah, sit still. So we're
Okay.
deep into conversations already. We decided to turn the cameras on and the mics on because we are deep into the Astronomer CEO conversation and how it is, quite honestly, one of the best business moves that company ever could have done. 100%.
Yeah, as if it was a setup.
Yeah, as
Could
if
have
it
been.
was a setup. It totally could have been a
Could have
setup.
been.
And so it's funny because a couple different things with this specifically. Number one, nobody knew who the fuck Astronomer was. Nobody knew who their company was. Nobody knows what they're doing. And now everybody knows. Everybody's researched what they're doing. Everybody researched like how they're responding to this situation. So a couple things that they did really well on the front side and on the back side. First things first, everyone is talking about Astronomer. They are a unicorn. So this company was built in, I think, 2017. It was turned into a unicorn, which means they are valued at over $1 billion immediately. So in 2022, they were valued over $1 billion. Still nobody's fucking heard of them, but they do data analytics and data support for AI and data-driven systems, which now is the rage with everyone. So, man, riddle me this. Do you stage a fake affair? Because they were doing nothing other than enjoying a Coldplay concert, right? Do you stage a fake affair so that everybody puts your company on the map across the entire corporation? You resign, you leave the company, you still have stock. Just because you resign doesn't mean your stock goes away. Maybe stock options and growth, but your ownership in your stock as a co-founder stays, even if you resign from a fucking company. So they're not publicly traded. And so now everybody knows what they do. Every company on earth knows what they do. Every competitor knows what they do. Even companies that need, guess what? Data-driven AI on the backside knows what they do and says, oh shit, it's a unicorn. Anybody who says the word unicorn salivates at the fucking word of that. When it comes to PEs, VCs, anybody who's an investor, a stock exchange, everyone's going to try and, essentially not only find out what this business does, but also at the same time find out how to invest in this business, find out what they're doing. But then everybody's figuring out what they do now. And they say, oh, well, shit, this is a unicorn business. They must be good at what they do. I need AI in my company. I need data-driven analytics in my company. Fucking sign me up. It is the most genius way to market your company and make it a worldwide, not a national, a worldwide brand literally overnight. Steph was showing me there was I think 80 million views on the video of them on TikTok, I think, or something like that. 80 million views.
I believe it.
Yeah. It means
I mean, it's all over my feed.
10% of at some point humanity will have seen this video and it's going to continue to grow.
Well, and what a great play for Coldplay.
Yeah.
Because everybody's
Yep.
talking about Coldplay and Coldplay lyrics.
And has been irrelevant forever. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, so maybe we need to do some investigation to find out if Coldplay has any
do they have monetary gain
involvement.
from this? Yeah. We're going. This is deep. Coldplay staged this. They were paid off to stage this, then act like they didn't stage it. Holy crap! This whole thing goes back to Coldplay.
Yep. There's something there. They must be connected. But because my thought is like, you're a grown man, you're a grown woman, and the video pans to you, and your first thought is to like duck and hide and like, it's very interesting. I don't know. I mean, I don't would know what to do in that situation, but
it literally makes it worse.
like ducking is like I don't know. The vibration that they have. Okay, let's just say this is a real situation. This is really what happened. They had the affair and they got caught. What an interesting life to create a scenario where you were uh exposed on such a public platform in such a public way. Like, what vibration is happening in you? Like, is there so much guilt around what you're doing? Do you have this fear of being caught? And so then you attract this like situation where now all the attention is on you getting caught. Is there like wrapped up, because I'm thinking about this from like an esoteric standpoint, is the wife at home like praying God's gonna give her a sign? You know, she knows something's going on with her husband and she's at home like just, he's gaslighting her just like he did in the apology. So much gaslighting happening there. It's Coldplay's fault. See, so maybe it is Coldplay's fault. Maybe they do know something about this company.
Look at
But
you made it all boring now.
sorry, was it boring?
I guarantee he was just thinking about pussy. That's what he was thinking about. There was no vibration other than, can I put my
No.
wiener in this thing?
Well, something had to create getting caught.
Yeah. Coldplay.
So.
They did it. This is
It's all Coldplay's fault.
Yeah, you guys can like Coldplay, but I think their music is terrible.
So in the apology is quite interesting because he says like, this was supposed to be a private moment, a private moment with my mistress,
right?
and Coldplay caught me.
Yeah.
How dare they?
Damn it, Coldplay.
How dare they?
We should look into the inside of stealing other people's information while I build this giant AI brain that is going to steal everybody's information.
Coldplay came out and said that they were going to have a section in their audience that was a no cam section so people could bring their
See, that's genius. That's a genius move because then you like charge, I don't know, $25,000 for those tickets each. Might as well, right?
But then you'd have other people just videoing, panning through, like, who's in this section?
I don't know. Could
What's
be.
going on?
Yeah. Doesn't have to be open. Could have glass windows. Build the shit stick. Could be a box seating.
But I would have to say this whole thing, it's crazy. Like how quickly the internet has blown up. Although I would say people are really creative too, because shortly after that happened, I saw somebody come on and he had it was a personal trainer and he had a bag of In-N-Out burger. And he was like, basically the caption was, when your trainer catches you cheat on your cheat day. And he's like eating the In-N-Out burger, but like hiding and ducking and trying to like avoid the camera. So it was quite funny. So some of the things that people have created from it are pretty funny. But I from a very real standpoint, I am glad his wife now knows the truth. If this is really what happened and it wasn't set up.
He retired. So now those two are like on a fucking beach island somewhere. I think their kids are older. I'm not sure. I haven't looked that deep into it, but I think their kids are older.
They're a little bit older, yeah.
And it's funny how it's like their kids are posting to be relevant now, get a bunch of followers on TikTok, or they could be fake videos. Their kids are posting like, reconnecting with my dad after, his affair being blown up on national television and shit like that. So
it's quite interesting.
it could be interesting.
How did the Kardashians do it? Some scandal.
There you go. Sex tape.
It was
100%.
It was. And now look at their empire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe more to come on that.
100%.
We shall see. So
100%. All right. So let's get into it. Now that we've discussed the most serious topic.
Yep. So today we're actually I feel like this is really fitting. We're going to talk about starting up and starting over. And as we just discussed, this guy has to start over somehow in his life. And so basically we're talking about the obstacles that you experience along the way, how that, can change your mind, your mindset, the path that you take, thinking about how to do something and doing it in a new way, trying to pivot and, make big changes when it comes to starting over. I guess starting up is a way to think about when you start over. You're not starting from the beginning. You are starting from where you last left off. So you continue to get better along the way. But how do you handle that? It's not always an easy journey. So what is that
at all?
What's that feel like? And
so let's start with the first half. The first half that we're going to talk about here is about like starting up. We're creating something new. And when you're creating something new, the first thing you're going to have to get out of your head is the fact that you need a business plan for every part of your business. because a lot of times when you're going to find investors in your company, or you're going to figure out how to fund your company or what you're going to do, you're trying to create a pro forma. And a pro forma is just a sheet of how the business is anticipated to do over the next 12 to 24 months. It could be longer than that. So you do all this planning and you come out with a business plan. What's going to be our mission, our vision? What's our product or service? What are we going to be going after? Who are we going to market to? Who are you essentially do a SWOT analysis. What are the strengths of this company? What are some of the weaknesses that we might have to look at? What are some of the obstacles or objections? And then what are some of the threats, or not obstacles or objections? I added that in there. Obstacles, objections, or opportunities to grow in this business and verticals. And then the last one is threats. What are some of the threats against this business, competition, etc. So you're going to go through that. You're going to create a business plan. You're going to create a pitch. You're going to create all this stuff. That is only useful if you are literally going to try and get money from other people to invest in your company. That's it. Otherwise, most of that shit is just as useful as tits on a bull when it comes to telling you how the business is going to do, what it's going to do, etc. Because you're just starting. You have no idea what the fuck it's going to do. You have no idea how it's going to roll out. The vision that you have for it today is going to be completely different than what actually comes out later. That being said, you will never have a perfect plan. Pro formas, anything, etc. You're never going to fucking know until you just jump in and you start doing it. I have, an MD. I have my MBA in healthcare management. I have a business degree, a higher level business degree in healthcare management, which you figured it would have taught me everything I need to know about healthcare management. It taught me absolutely nothing about healthcare management in real life. And so people delay action and delay doing something because they want to have all their ducks in a row. They want to have all the problems solved before they walk into the fire. And that will never work, because what's going to happen is inevitably you'll have something else pop up that you didn't plan for. And that thing is going to pop up whether you get in and start earlier, or get it, or plan everything and start later. Still going to be the same problems that pop up, same issues that pop up. So you're not going to be able to avoid everything. You're not going to be able to plan everything. So you can have a basic picture of what you want to accomplish. I'm not just saying like go out there and start just soliciting people, selling random shit. Again, have an idea, have a plan, have a message, have a brand, have some core values, so you know exactly what you're going to say and how you're going to say it before you walk out the door to your clients. But realize the little details, they don't really matter until later on. They don't matter until you get bigger. And there'll be people that say, well, I'm going to hold that standard. I'll hold the line that the little details do matter. Look, assholes, I'm not trying to say that little details that could sink your fucking business don't matter. What I'm trying to say is little details like, if this problem goes wrong, this is how we're going to solve it, doesn't fucking matter in the beginning, because you don't even know if you're going to have that problem, or if that problem is even a real problem in that fucking type of business. So just go. Just fucking go.
My first business coach used to tell me, like, you're planning too much. You don't even know if the market wants what you have. Like, create an outline and then go sell it. And after you sell it and you prove that this is something people want, then figure out what's your next step. What's the next detail? What's the next level that you need to have put in place to actually, act on it, provide the service, create what it is you're promising to them. And I thought that was great because, at the beginning, when you first become an entrepreneur, it's, like you want to have everything right before you start, but you can't. You can't. You're not ever going to. But it was great advice, because I still do that today. Like, let me see if I have something people want. And then I'll put the money in and the time in to develop it more.
No, 100% you're right. Like, the absolute two most important qualities here are just going to be persistence and adaptability. Be determined, be persistent, go out there, do it, and literally build the plane as you're flying. Like, oh, we need more people over here, put more people over there. We need less things over here. Okay, less things over here. Okay, we tried this, but this didn't work. We need to switch that. Okay, let's switch it to this and see if that works for a few weeks or days or months. You have to consistently be adaptable. New things, trying, failing, trying, failing, trying, failing, and you're going to fail a whole heck of a lot.
What do you think stops people from taking action and then they, get stuck in the planning process? Is that the fear?
I think it's just fear. It's literally just fear. There's nothing else that should stop you or that stops people other than the fear of what if, the fear of if I fail, this is going to be the worst thing of my life. And it's not true. The worst thing in your life is staying right where the fuck you are and never growing and never succeeding and never pushing yourself to be something better than what you have today. And that's people overanalyze. And I think medical entrepreneurs overanalyze even more because we've been trained for decades to analyze everything and figure out all the problems from A to Z and all the solutions, and then choose the one that fits the best and use that one. It doesn't work like that in entrepreneurship. You can't go A to Z, all the pathways, all the problems, and then just say, well, this one's going to be the best. Because you got no fucking clue. Like your business mentor said, you got no clue what's going to be the best until you start doing it. And you're just like, okay, well, that's maybe not the best, but this way is a little bit better. Okay, that way is a little bit better, but then this part over here might be even better. Okay, this part over here fucked up. Let's go back over here to this direction. And it's just consistently adapting. And I think that's what people have, the fear of failing, the fear of, because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to fail. It does not feel good to be embarrassed. But guys, that's literally what you have to do to be a great entrepreneur, to be a great leader, to be a great person in general. You have to be embarrassed enough about what you're currently doing or who you currently are to make that change.
Well, and that it kind of brings me to the second part of the topic that we're talking about today, which is starting up, starting up and starting over. And that failure that we're referring to here, that's the starting over.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you start it up if you fail, which there's going to be things you learn along the way. You could call them failures. I mean, there are things in Genesis that we were doing 3 years ago that now we don't do anymore. There's systems that we were following or platforms we were using that we're not using anymore. We're using something else. Those things aren't necessarily a failure, but it's something that is changing within the company and it's needed. But let's say you have this failure and you are starting over. It's interesting how things come full circle. So just had a call with Vaughn yesterday, one of your other business partners, who's coaching me on some great things, just clarity around like my passion, my desires, things that I love in life, and then how does that play out in my work? Um, and one of the things that comes full circle, the skincare line, of course, is like a big part of that. Like started my first product in 2007, and one of the things that I absolutely love and have done my entire life when it comes to the beauty side of things is making beauty simple. So it's like, how do we simplify the processes? And everything I've done as far as the things that I've said yes to with Miami Swim Week, with HSN, with Ulta, just different national brands I've worked with. It's all been with the viewpoint of how do we make it simple? And one of the things that I'm taking into, like, it's the same stuff. I'm taking it into the skincare line. How do we simplify the skincare industry? Because if you look at these skincare websites, they have 20 or 30 products for really a handful of problems. So why not add other ingredients together so that when somebody buys a product, they can solve 3 to 5 issues instead of having to buy 3 to 5 products. But companies do that because they can make more money. How do you sell more product to the same person? But I don't want to do that. I want people to love the product, get the most out of it that they can, become lifers where they just don't want to use anything else, and then they're telling other people about it. So instead of going back to the same people over and over, and I know it's cheaper to, market to the same people because they're already your customer. It's like, okay, from a business standpoint, that makes sense. But from a, I guess, integrity standpoint, why can't we just like broaden the net and just get more customers? Like there's two ways to go about it. Um, but what that does is it brings me back like full circle. My whole approach is how do I make beauty simple? So being able to talk about that, I have so many people, women that are like, you should be my coach. And I'm like, I don't really want to be a coach and I don't want to have a mastermind. Like, but what can I have? Like, I can have a network where I'm teaching women how to do their makeup, do their skincare, how to approach beauty as a whole. And the interesting part about it is, uh, and how this comes back to failure, if you will, is I let go of Amanda May Beauty to come on with Genesis. And now I go, okay, wait a minute. Now, everything that I know and that I've done over the last like 3 to 4 years, I can take all of that stuff and almost like marry the two together where the message and my work and all of that stuff is still happening, but it's happening on in a bigger way. It's happening on a bigger scale. So like with Stature, it's like we're launching the product line. So how many more women do I get to touch because of what we're doing with the other aspects of business, with what we're doing with Genesis? And it's really interesting because what could have felt like a failure or maybe did at times, like I didn't grow my own brand, so I failed. It's like, no, now it's coming back around. And I'm more excited now to think about all the things that I can put in place and the message that I can share and the impact that will have through the skincare line and through the teaching of making beauty simple. It's like that's going to be huge. Like it's going to be bigger than anything I did before.
Mhm.
Um, so it's just an interesting way to go, okay, the failure, if you will, created a whole nother I would say trajectory of like a startup, which it's fascinating if you think about every failure sets you up for the next startup. So my little tangent there
No, it
on
was
all
great.
my skincare
No,
and beauty.
that was absolutely phenomenal. In that mindset, you could have thought, well, if I'm going to build this new skincare business or if I'm going to be part of this, what if? What if it fails? What if it fails like all these other businesses before? What if it fails like this or that in my life? But you changed it in your mindset to even if I have to give up Amanda May Beauty directly, even if I have to walk away from these 4 brick and mortars that I've built, even if I have to travel across the United States from Ohio to Las Vegas to build what I want to, that's what you're thinking of. You're you're still going to succeed despite all of that. And that's a thought from Dr. Ellen Reed in her book Relentless Solution Focus we've talked about before, in that people are afraid of the unknown, the what ifs, so they don't act. They have that analysis paralysis. And instead, they should find confidence in the power of action. Action, as we've said, cures anxiety. If you have anxiety about something, start to do something about it, and then anxiety will go away. Execution, action will get results. So even if something goes wrong, you're going to just continue to trudge forward. You're going to be continuing to grow. You're going to be continuing to just take that action to fix those problems. Your life is going to get better. And so, you being hard on yourself, like most entrepreneurs, in that, well, I feel like this is a failure, or this was a failure at the time, etc., that still didn't keep you from thinking, well, what if I fail again? or acting on that what if I failed again. You acted on, even if I fail again, I'm going to continue to grow. I'm going to continue to make something better, and it's going to pivot and change into something. It's going to pivot and change into something that is going to make my life better and better. You have to think that way to succeed.
Yeah. That's You hit the nail on the head. It is always the focus, like, well, the big vision. I think oftentimes I like numbers, I like spreadsheets, so I'll put things down, and so I'll have these moments where I just go in like, "Well, if this happens and that happens and this many people are using it and this is our, profit on each product and we're in this many location," and I just multiply things out just because I wanna see what it's gonna look like.
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, well, I only need 100 people using the product on a daily basis to do this?" Like, okay, what happens when we get to 300? What happens when what happens when 300 locations are carrying the product line? And I love mapping that out is like playful for me because it's like, "Oh, okay, I can see where it can go." And it's interesting because I feel like the what if is people creating barriers in their own mind. Um, or wait, hold on one second. I feel like the what if is people creating barriers in their own mind, but the even if is more possibility, opportunity. Like, what could this be? And allowing yourself to go down that path. Because when you really see it, it doesn't take that much to move the needle forward. Like, it just, how many more clients do we need in Genesis? How many more clients do we need rebooking before they leave their appointment, rebooking their next appointment? How many people do we need doing that to see a huge shift in the company? Like, those are things that we talk about. And it's like, just play with that. Have fun with all right, this could happen and not living in the what if, but like, even if we only get X number of people doing this, that's what it means. That's huge. And that I think is like a major motivating force. For you, what things do you feel like help renew your vision so that you continue to stay motivated to create new business, improve your business, and, be excited even when things feel a little bit difficult?
I think always focusing on the end result. What am I going to get if I go through this bullshit? Because there's two schools of thought here. One, it's what's the either monetary or personal reward or whatever that you're going to gain from going through it. And then at the same time, it's also the idea that nobody else is really going to go through this shit. When you are deep in the trenches and when you are deep in the trenches and you are working your ass off and there is nobody else around you that's working at your level, you can take solace in the fact that your competition probably isn't doing this fucking either. That there might be sipping their Mai Tais and eating bonbons, and you're going to blow right past them, and they don't even know what's going to hit them by the time that you get there. And I had a mentor who's saying if you're going through hell, like the worst part that you could possibly go through, you have to focus on what you're going to gain. You cannot focus on what you're going to give up. You have to focus on what you're going to gain. So it's true that starting something is going to be scary because starting something new requires sacrifice. It requires sacrifice of maybe who you are if you're changing who you are, of what your business looks like if you're changing what your business looks like, of your family dynamic if you're changing your family dynamic or you want to improve it. Anything that you're going to improve requires a sacrifice of the old way of doing things, of the old person you were, of all the habits that you had before. You have to sacrifice that person. It goes away forever. That model, that system, goes away forever. Hopefully never to come back because you're doing this to be better. But you have to focus on that. You have to focus on what you are going to gain in the process of that sacrifice.
Yeah. It's all about the reinvention, being okay regarding the starting over and really embracing that that is just a natural process of growth in life and business, is that there are going to be moments of reinvention, moments of starting over, and like you said, not beating yourself up along the way if you've had to start over, because all successful people have. I mean, all people have, whether you're successful or not, you're going to have to start over sometimes. So you might as well do it with the hopes that there's success on the other end of it, because that's just life. Like, I don't even know if it's just the growth process. I guess if you're doing nothing, absolutely nothing with your life, you may never have to go through that. But I mean, at every phase of life, there's a starting over. Like when you have kids, my life looks very different after having raised a child to adulthood and then starting over this whole process a second time after having Elia now a year and a half ago. It's like that's a starting over. What does life look like right now? So if you get married, you're starting over. If you buy a house, you're starting over. Like everything comes with its challenges. And so you're learning and that's going to be growth. So even if you're not like necessarily in business, you have all of this stuff happening anyway. So you might as well embrace the process and make the most out of it. Um see success again, like not what if all of this stuff happens, but even if, even if this doesn't go right, even if, I mean, people get married, you hope it's going to work, but a lot of marriages don't.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if this doesn't work, what are you going to learn? Who are you going to learn about yourself? What are you going to, I can say that. I mean, I've been divorced
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
So I
Like,
didn't
you fucked up all the time.
I did. I really did. You would talk about beating yourself up. That is one I had to make peace with, because in both relationships, I'm like, wow, I was a tough cookie. I can understand why things didn't work out.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't me going, it's all their fault.
Yeah, I got that. That's the hot to crazy algorithm ratio. You're like all the way up there in the corner.
Not that each didn't have its own issues, but I definitely walked away going, there's a whole lot I could have done different. um, but anyway, I digressed into, a different topic. But that being said, where do you feel like in your life there's been a need for reinvention and then kind of like a starting over process?
Yeah, well, hmm. The starting over process is interesting because as a medical provider, you're going to be starting over every 3 to 4 years when you go from your college to grad school to medical school or nurse practitioner school or nursing school, and then you go to nurse practitioner school or you go to PA school, you go get your MD, DO, and then you go to your residency, and then you go from your residency to a specialty if you do a specialty. I mean, you're consistently reinventing yourself. It's built into the system that every 3 to 4 years, you're becoming somebody completely different, and you become the small fish in the bigger pond, and then the small fish in the biggest pond, and you just continue to work yourself up. But when that translate to business or when it translate to leadership and growth in your company, what got you here won't get you there. What brought you up to this level was a certain set of skills, a certain level of competence, what's going to get you from this to maybe 10x who you are right now. You're going to have to 10x your set of skills, 10x who you are. If you go from that to 100x, you might have to 1,000x who you are as a person or who you are as a leader in order to just get an extra 10x on top of the 10x you already got. So you have to consistently renew yourself on a personal basis, renew yourself mentally, renew yourself on your innovation in your company in order to stay relevant. Because if you don't, you're going to become irrelevant. Your business will become irrelevant. You won't be able to lead and grow your company the way that you need to, because the skills it takes to lead 5 people are not the same skills that it takes to lead 500. And they are not the same skills it takes to lead 5,000. They're just not. It's different massively at every level. And so you have to realize that, and that you have to renew yourself to get to that.
Mm, that's good. That makes me think about, what level I want to get to and asking myself the question, like, who do I need to become to have everything I say that I want? And then really sitting with that, like, who do I need to become? What do I need to know? What do I lack in right now that I can learn? And pushing to that next level, like, what who I want to become does what, and then figuring out how to get there and do that. I think it's good. It's a good self-assessment, like, if you want what somebody else has, if you want that position, that next position. I mean, with people in the company, they want the higher position, and as the company grows, they come to you and, to the team and say, "I wanna be a regional." And it's like, what does a regional do?
Mhm.
And are you doing that? Or maybe you're not doing it right now. Are you trying to learn how to do that? Are you on the path to gain the skills that you need to have to get there? Because, some of which, like what you're saying, you learn as you go. So it's like, but are they on the path to get to that next level? And in any position, if you want to go to the next level, it's like, okay, well, who do you need to become? And then are you doing those things to some degree so that you can actually do it?
Yeah, you're exactly right when it comes to that. And if somebody in your business, in your medical company, comes to you and says, "I want XYZ position," the answer shouldn't be no, unless obviously they need a license to do something. Then obviously well, do you have the license? No, I can't put you in that position. You can't be a injector when you're an MA, or a salesperson off the street. Like, that doesn't work. But if a person wants a specific position in your job, a certain income, etc., it should be not a no. It should be, okay, not right now, but let's come up with a plan, a procedure to get you there. At the same time, you should say, well, what does that position do? What are the skills that you're going to need to do for me to be comfortable enough to put you in that position? Um, and then it's pushing it back on them and saying, you need to learn how to do this, 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 and this in order for me to feel comfortable enough to put you in that position. If you want to be a regional director, your clinic shouldn't be in the bottom 5 every single month for income. It shouldn't have a high turnover rate. It shouldn't have low Google scores. If you want to be a regional director, meaning being over 10 to 12 other locations, you better be a top 5 clinic every single month. You better be growing every single month. You better make sure that you are innovating and putting in new sales and procedures and processes that you share with the entire rest of the corporation every single month. You better make sure that you are focused on your team, their training, and their improvement every single month. You can't just ask for a job because you think you're good at it. Because I guarantee, if you ask for a job because you think you're good at it, you're fucking not. Period. You're just not.
Because why do you say that?
Because great leaders will literally give you the job or tell you already, I see you in this position if you're doing all the things right that you're supposed to be doing.
Hmm.
If you're not, you have zero things to stand on to be able to sit in that position. Now, there might be a misunderstanding where we have some people who came up for certain positions or wanted to get into certain positions that didn't understand truly what that position actually does. And again, that's that conversation. Like, well, I want this position where it's like, do you actually know what that job does? Do you know how much that job has to travel, time away from family, things that you have to be able to do? You don't have the skills. You just straight up don't have the skills, or nor do you have the expertise to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Looking at a COO in our company, there is nobody in our company that can currently be a highly efficient COO. Maybe even me included, Brent included as the co-founders and co-CEOs, because we have never built a company to go from X to Z. We've never built a company from, 50 locations to 150, 250 locations. When we get there, yeah, we'll have all the skills. We'll know all the ins and outs, and we'll be able to learn and then sit in those positions later on if we wanted to, or with other businesses or as we scale. But right now, there are people better than us that have done this longer. So don't think that, number one, if somebody comes to you that they want a position, that you should say no. You should always have some sort of open door to get them to there if they can. Again, a skill thing at that point. Because they have the will because they stepped up and asked to do it. Do they have the skill to get to that point? If they don't, they got to get the skill. You got to tell them. But then there's the point where you might not have the skill to get the business to the next level, and you got to go hire people. You'll have the will all you want. But again, if will doesn't match skill, you could be the greatest leader known to man, so awesome on core values and all this shit because that's what you're really good at and have the skills at, and shitty on scaling a company from 2 locations to 4 locations, from 1 location to 2 locations, from 50 locations to 150 locations. Different sets of skills. If you don't have it, either go get it or hire someone out for it. But don't be afraid to reinvent yourself and be open to that.
Yeah, I think about the journey I've been on with Genesis, and you mentioned that leaders will call out other people like, "Hey, we see you in this position." That's definitely been the case multiple times for my positions within Genesis and the different seats and hats that I've sat in and wore. And I think when a leader, if you see that on your team, call it out and move those people up. I think that's so important. Um, because if somebody is on a track for growth and they're excited about growth and they want growth, speaking from my own experience here, but also I know a lot of people that are like a lot of my friends are high achieving women and in personal development or growth mindset, just have a growth mindset. And so a couple times you guys have said to me, "Hey, this is what we want you to do." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll figure it out." Uh, it's a skill and will. Like, can I figure it out? Yeah. If I couldn't actually figure something out, I'd be honest with you guys. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to figure that out. But I'm pretty determined, so I know I can figure out a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Determined or hard or stubborn.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, depends on
Same.
perspective.
Same.
But,
It's all perspective. I'm the same.
but if you tell me something, hey, we see you in this, cool. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do everything I can to learn how to do that. And there was a phase with my position and role with Genesis where I was involved in some of the marketing conversations and, email marketing and, was just involved in some of the marketing stuff. And immediately I'm like, I need to take marketing classes. Like, I need to know, like, how does this work? What's the communication? Like, how do successful companies do these things? So there's a lot of resources out there and tools if somebody wants to learn and go to the next level. So like, or if you're reinventing yourself, you're listening, you're like, okay, I'm reinventing myself. Now what? I have sat in different roles within Genesis than I ever did in my life. So there have been multiple reinventions over the last like 3 to 4 years. But it's like providing, if the company can, providing training or guidance, like classes, whatever it is. If the person has the will and they just need a little bit of skill, give it to them. Like figure out a way to provide it. I mean, we don't really have to do that because I'm pretty much like, oh, okay, I got it. I'm going to figure it out. So I just went and bought courses and started doing things, or like even with the the design stuff. You know, I have an eye for beauty anyway. I love design, I love fashion, all that. So it makes it pretty easy. It's transferable into how the clinics look and the look and feel of the branding and brand development. Like how do we make this cohesive across the board, that Ritz-Carlton feel for every aspect of the business. You know, immediately I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to the show in Vegas. Like, I'll be on the next flight to go check out the markets, meet the people." So, um, it's pretty fun when I think about all of the ways I've had to reinvent myself over the last 3 to 4 years. It's actually been pretty fun,
Yeah.
and I feel like now I have so much more experience to bring, uh to anything that I'm doing, and how some of that has even played over into what we're gonna do with Stature, like the design of the bottles and the feel and the look and, like, it all connects, and so, if you are reinventing yourself, see the big picture, recognize it comes full circle, be excited about the process because great things will come from having to reinvent yourself.
Yeah. And along with reinventing yourself, give yourself a little bit of grace when it comes to the time that it takes to settle into that new person. And people may not like you at the beginning. They might not like who you are. They may not like what you stand for. But if you truly believe that that's the best for you, then that's okay. That's all that fucking matters, really, in the end. Nobody else has to deal with you. I mean, you have to deal with yourself every single fucking day. They don't have to. So in the end, your reinvention may be your greatest accomplishment yet. And kind of going off on a tangent here, but it's similar to what I'm talking about in that when the new Star Wars movies came out, Hayden Christensen was the actor who played uh this fucking guy doesn't think I know the Star Wars, but okay. Thanks. I was pausing for dramatic effect. Mason. Anakin Skywalker. Yes, I know. Yeah. I know, Mason. So he plays an older Anakin Skywalker, not the young one. And later, who becomes Darth Vader. And everybody hated the way he the way he acted, the way he portrayed the character. They hated the way it wasn't the way the Clone Wars was, and all the different things. They just fucking hated his character in general and him as an actor. And he got torn down for it. I mean, he got dragged through the mud, and there was so many articles about how crappy he was, and Reddit things about how crappy he was, and Discords about how crappy it was. And then Jon Favreau, he rescued Star Wars in general because it's been going down the fucking tubes forever. But with the Mandalorian that came out, and then Han that came out, and then most recently it was Ahsoka that came out, and Hayden was recasted as Darth Vader or a young Anakin Skywalker who was Ahsoka's trainer, if you will, his coach, teacher, mentor. Because Jedis always train together, just like Sith. But the character had evolved over now. Gosh, it's been probably 15, 20 years between those two coming out with each other. And they hated him then for the role. And the new people that got into Star Wars and this new way of storytelling, they love him for his character. And you could see he gets really choked up when he walks onto stage and people cheer because he was used to walking onto stage and everybody booing. Or like when he talks in a lot of interviews, he gets choked up a lot because it means so much to him that his character, his person, the person who he reinvented himself to be, and they fucking stoned him for it, became somebody that over time they loved. And it's the same with reinventing yourself. You might reinvent yourself. You might become this new person, this thing that your current friends will fucking crucify you for. Your parents may hate you for that. Other people around you might stone you to death for who you've become. And the only person who's going to get it is fucking you and maybe a few other people if you get around the right circles. That's it. And so embrace that reinvention. Embrace starting over. Embrace that as a natural progression of growth, as a natural stage in the new person you want to be, the better person you want to be. Because otherwise you're just living your life to be what everybody else wants you to be. You got anything to say about that, Mason?
Hayden Christensen actually retired from all the hate in the early 2000s, and I think he did like maybe one movie after Star Wars, and then he just retired and lived on a ranch and raised some kids, and he came back for those movies.
They made him fucking quit. They hated him so much for the role.
I actually liked him in the prequels.
I mean, I didn't find anything wrong with his character, the way he acted.
Maybe I'm biased because that's the Star Wars I grew up with.
Yeah, could be.
Before I saw the original, I saw the prequels.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, we weren't ruined before,
No.
like the rest of us. But no. That's just, I mean, sometimes that reinvention will drive you into fucking dark depression because everybody hates you for it.
I love how you pulled Mason in on that one because I explained to you in an earlier podcast that I don't connect with movies. Like I watch it, but I have no idea what's happening. And you were like, I'm not even going to ask Amanda what she thinks.
Nah,
she's not going to know
because
shit
she's gonna be like,
this.
yeah, I love how the Grinch was in that movie talking about Yoda. You know, that's what's gonna happen.
So he's like, hey Mason, you
Yeah.
want to be my co-host on this
Yeah,
one?
yeah. We're tagging Mason up to the big leagues right now. Yep.
Hey, it's good. You know when to pull him in. One of the big benefits to starting over, reinvention, is kind of removing the noise and removing the clutter and the bloat and all the things that we think we need to do in the moment to grow, or this idea of success. Like the more people we have on our team, or, we take steps that sometimes make it more difficult than what it needs to be. And when a failure hits or a reinvention is necessary, it gives you a chance to almost take a breather and clean all of that up.
Yeah.
So that's a huge blessing.
No, that's it. It's a massive part of the benefits of reinvention or failure in general is you get to look at it and you get to say, okay, well, that, and that didn't work, but I know now all the things that would have made it work. So when you're attacking the problem again, you literally don't focus your time and effort on all the fuck ups that you had, because if I go down that road, that's going to be a fuck up. It's going to cost me this much money. But now I know this is the road we need to go down because I learned my lesson. And so you get there much, much faster after you do the fuck up. And again, the fuck ups, the faster you can build and be urgent about things, and we've talked about this, the faster you fuck up, the faster you can rebuild it into what's going to be successful. 100% of the time, it's that urgency. It's taking what somebody tells you, implementing it, letting it break, then saying, okay, that doesn't work that way. Let's try this way. Pushing it out again, letting it break. Okay, that didn't work that way. Fixing it, pushing it out again, and letting it break. And each time you're going a little bit further in the race, a little bit further towards where you want to be. And that's the great thing. Like you said, you get rid of all the clutter, all the extra shit. It's going back into your company and saying, do I need 5 back office people to do this job and 4 front office people to do this job? Well, we used to do it with 2 in the front and 2 in the back, and we saw the same amount of clients. What changed? Are we adding in processes and procedures that require more hands for really no increased income? Did we see more clients? And now, because we're seeing double the amount of clients, we need double the amount of staff. All those things give you insight into that. And that if you have that failure, let's say, again, you bloated. You got really, really good for a short period of time. You hired a bunch of extra staff because you didn't notice that the staff payroll was shooting through the roof because you were making so much money. And then guess what? When you have a bad year and it comes crashing down, You look at your staff and you're like, man, we literally have a massive amount of staff for a little amount of work. And that's what happens with these huge companies that have layoffs or things like that. That's why there's so many layoffs this year. And that's why, Genesis has gone through some tough times where we've had to lay off some people or fire some people we didn't want to fire in the end, but have to in order to make the business survive. And nobody talks about that shitty part of the business. It's a literal requirement some years to have to strip things down to make sure that you can keep the doors open, because you can totally hire everybody, keep everybody on payroll, increase their pay like they want to for no reason whatsoever, and you could run off a fucking cliff. And that's what happens when people show up to work one day and the fucking doors are locked.
Mhm.
I mean, that's happened when I moved to Texas. Again, I wasn't paying attention to it, so it probably happened more in California or Vegas when I was there. Vegas because of COVID, but Texas specifically, I live in, or I used to live in the high rise at where the Dallas Cowboys have their headquarters. It's called the Star in Frisco. And I remember 2 restaurants there that we used to go to. Literally one day, staff shows up and the fucking doors are closed and it says, we're closed for good. The staff didn't even know. Like the manager knew or the owner knew, but they just literally just had a lockout. And you think, could they have done something differently? Could they have served less clientele during certain hours? I don't know. Serving less clientele is never going to get your business thing. That's a very stupid fucking idea. So forget that. But could they have cut half the staff and maybe closed off half of the seats so you couldn't serve as many clientele? You just had to pack in the house. That way you had less cooks. So you had less staff, you had less cooks. The food cost the same, if you will. And then they make money off liquor. Most restaurants do, nothing else. So could they have switched that around? Could they have done something different? Could they have reinvented themselves to save themselves? Because that's what real companies do. That's what intelligent companies do. In order to survive 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, there's going to be times where you're getting a bailout. There's going to be times where you're just skating on thin fucking ice. There's going to be times when it's going to come down to the wire that you're going to need money to come through to fucking save your payroll and save your rent and keep you from getting kicked out. That's going to be in any business that is great and that lasts a long time. And so people are looking at these businesses and these business coaches, even myself. I would say this to even myself that have been around in 6 years or sub 10 years or sub 20 years. And they think that everything that they know is everything there is to know about business. You should be looking at the guys that literally are past 20 years in business and have a successful business, not past 20 years and they're the only employee and they're still at the same size. No, past 20 years, they've scaled their business. They're a massive business. Those are the guys you want to listen to. Those are the guys you want to hear about, the founders that are 20 plus years into it, because those are the people that literally have been through fucking hell and back. Because I guarantee in 20 years, there's been some down years. There's been some wild drama. There's been some lawsuits. There's been everything, all of the above, all in. And learning from them gives you, back to the question, the better sense of what you need, the better sense of how to get there, the better sense of how to improve. And it gets you there faster. It does. I mean, I was speaking with my friend Andy the other day, and he's like, one of the things you did remarkably well is you did what I did in 15 years in 5. And he's been doing it for 20 plus years. I think like 25 or 26 years or something like that at this point. But I did it because I listened to what he said and I just shut the fuck up and I did it. Because he's gone through all the lessons. He's had all the ups and downs and he's built a massive multi-billion-dollar company. So obviously he knows what the fuck he's talking about. Just follow the lead of those people. But at the same time, yes, your own mistakes that are inevitably going to happen, your own part where you got to tear yourself down and rebuild yourself up, it helps you get rid of all the extra fluff, the things that don't benefit you, and add the things that you know are going to make you and your team and your company great.
Yeah. Yeah, when you talk about, like, getting rid of the bloat and the clutter and having to let some people go along the way, one of the things that really makes a big difference that we've been talking about a lot is high achievers, the people that are really great, those A players that you want on your team. When you get rid of the extra employees, the bloat in your company, it gives you a chance to reevaluate, like, how do we move into A players so that twice as much gets created? Because A players tend to create 2 to 3 times more than if you were to have 3, 4, B, C players on your team. And the buy-in that you get from the team, if that A player is their lead, it's massive and it makes such a big difference. So reevaluating, like, okay, if you can remove, let's say, 3 positions and actually roll that income or that expense all into a higher income for an A player, you could probably still be saving money, but then on top of it, creating way more in your business. And so it allows you a chance to really reevaluate your structure, your scalability, the efficiency happening within your business, and what you're getting out of people. And so when we talk about removing bloat and clutter, and we're talking about it as some of that in the sense of people, also processes. Um, are and you mentioned, are we adding systems in that's making the job twice as hard that we can do away with? But we're not necessarily talking about it like those people are bad people. It's just a matter of, are those the players that are going to get you to the next level? And those reinventions, those times of reinvention allow you to really assess that, and can be hugely like a huge factor in changing the trajectory of your business and what you're creating. And so that's not an easy conversation to have, because some of these people that you really, like you said, you don't necessarily want to get rid of them. Um, how do you handle that? Because you have such a big heart, and you have you, such a such a passion, I feel like, for helping see people successful along the way. Like, how do you manage that internally?
Oof, that's a difficult question. It's never going to be easy to handle. That's for sure. I had a multi-billionaire tell me once, and it really stuck with me. He's like, I'm going to teach you two lessons about business, and remember them forever." And first lesson was, every year you should, which is actually funny. It's because it's two lessons. It's obviously that's why he's a billionaire, because he just put everything into like two things to do instead of 15. He's just efficient. He said, number one, make sure you reassess and renegotiate your insurance every year and have a great legal team on board to absolutely sue the shit out of anybody that you need to. And the second one was, you're going to have to fire loyalty to hire for efficiency at some point. And that's the hardest part of building a business, is that some of these people, when you reinvent yourself, they're not going to be able to be what you need them to be at the second level. They're not going to be able to be a part of Genesis 2.0, or the pharmacies 2.0, or your company 2.0, or even your leadership or your team locally 2.0. They're not going to level up with you because they're not going to want to or be able to. And that's okay. That doesn't make them bad people. It just makes them bad people for their position on your team. And when you go back and you have to start over or reinvent parts of your company, it allows you to say, well, when I started, I really needed help. Or as we grew so fast, we really needed to just throw people on the bus. And we didn't really care who we let on the bus or not. We just needed people on the bus to get to where we're going. We just needed to feel the team, if you will. And what you realize is when you get to a certain point that those people on the bus can't get you any further, whether it's a skill or a will thing, then it's okay to pull the bus over, stop the bus, kick the people off the bus that don't need to be there, find the right people to get on the bus, and then take the bus to where you want to go. Because if they're not all in, if they're not 100% on your team, and again, they don't have the skills and the will to be all in and 100% on the team, then it's time for them to lose or leave. It's time for them to get out because you're going to lose if you keep them. And so you might have to have a heart-to-heart. If you're all in, great, stay. If you're not, there's the door. Please walk out of it because otherwise I will send you out the door and it's going to happen quickly. So it's a good opportunity to really offload the people who are weighing your company down. Brent, my business partner, likes to call them anchors in the boat. There are always going to be some anchors in your boat that are just dragging your clinic down or your management down or your company down. And when you find those anchors, it's best to just literally toss them over the side. Let them sink with their anchor. Don't try and pull the anchor up. Don't try and do that because, again, they've already proven to be an anchor and that they're not going to improve whatsoever. So that's a huge opportunity there to reinvent. When you do reinvent your team, is to figure out who's on the team and who's not. There was a great story about this. And I never had to do this or got into this problem because we've always had core values from the beginning of our business because of this story where my good friend Andy Frisella, he talks about how they decided almost 10 years into business that they were going to have core values that they live off of. And their first Christmas event that they ever had, Christmas dinner, they literally had the core values cards printed out and put on people's plates. And he said some people were like, this is awesome. And some people were like, what the fuck is this? And he said probably like 3/4 of the people walked out the fucking door that day because he said, this is what we're going to stand on. This is who we are. This is who we're going to reinvent ourselves at. And that was when there was less than a dozen of them. And obviously it worked because now they have hundreds, if not thousands of employees. They're partnered with Anheuser-Busch on an energy drink and they're making billions of dollars a year. So reinventing yourself, getting the right people on the boat, on the bus is not always a bad thing. It's an opportunity.
As you're just talking about, it's clear for a lot of people, change is hard. It's not always easy to get people to change. And like Andy saw that there was a handful of people that were like, okay, I can't handle this change. And, we're no longer with the company. As a leader, how do you recognize that your team is going to have fears? Like we're going through Genesis 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you recognize that there might be fears around the change, but still motivate the team that this is where we're going, either get on board or get off. But if you're going to be on board with us, trust the process.
Bro, your team is going to be fucking scared at everything that you do. Literally. Because, and not for a bad reason, but because for everything that you change, everything that you improve upon, everything that you reinvent, they are always going to be worried about the what if. Not the even if, the what if. And that's okay. Because if they were all worried about the even if, then they'd be their own business owners. They'd be their own clinic leaders. They'd be doing their own thing. But they got to worry about the what if. And it's okay because they got families. They've got mouths to feed. They've got somebody like me at the helm, which that's just unnerving as it is every fucking once in a while. But at the same time, you have to realize that your staff is going to be worried about that. Your staff is going to be worried about Genesis 2.0 and what that means for them. And part of the conversation that you have to have with them is that we are going to hold the line and set the standard and grow the standard as much as we possibly can. And that includes all of you. If you hold the line, set the standard, and grow the standard and improve, there is plenty of room on this bus for you. If you don't, please get off the bus now. Because it'll be easier for me to just replace you and get somebody on the bus who wants to be there. And that's a very serious, simple, straightforward conversation you can have with your team. And that what we're building will benefit all of them if they want to be there and they work their asses off. But it won't be there for them if they don't want to be there, they don't have the skill or the will, and they don't want to work their asses off. That's okay. That's what this is going to be. And so a reinvention, a conversation around that is sometimes warranted. A conversation is sometimes necessary to tell them where you're going and have clarity in what your plan is so that they can believe it.
Mhm.
You know, there was no general who went to war and stood at the front of his army and is like, well, I'm not quite sure how today's going to go, but we'll figure it out when we're out there, right?
No one's going to follow.
No one's good. Everybody's going to be like, what the fuck?
I'm out of here.
No. You're going to be William Wallace standing up there. You have to be William Wallace standing up there. You have to instill the passion in them, and you have to be passionate about what you're doing, and you have to have fucking conviction in what you're doing so that they believe, so that they understand, you know, that you are going to be there for them and you're going to run straight headlong into whatever you have to fight before they will. And you'll be there on the battlefield for as long as there is life left in anyone's body. And that's the only way you're going to be able to get them to realize that what we are doing is different. What we are doing is going to change the world. And that's, as an entrepreneur, what you should be focused on. The fact that what you're doing needs to change the world, period. Because if you're not focused on that, then there's nothing else that your business should be doing. There's nothing else that your business should be doing than focused on changing the world in one way or another. That's it. And you have to have that conviction for your team, for your family, for everyone around you to follow you so that they are not fearful. I mean, I'm sure every soldier that ever was in any battle ever had some fear going into battle. I mean, there's a high possibility of fucking death in a fucked up way. Whether that's from a claymore or a fucking arrow or a freaking mace to the side of the fucking head. Like, can you imagine that fear that they had to, the courage that they had to have to chew through that fear? I mean, none of us right now are going to literal war where we will die if we're building a business. Yes, wars are still fought. There's still soldiers. The fear that they have to have is this, I mean, it's not the same, but that fear, that courage that you have to have in order to build the business, in order to lead other people, it's still going to be there no matter fucking what, guys. It is still going to be there no matter what. But you have to think, whether or not I fucking die on this battlefield, that's fine, as it is irrelevant in the long term. Because what I fought for and what I stood up for and what I built will long outlast me after I die on the battlefield.
That's the power of starting up and starting over and really being at peace with this process. That's what we've been talking about this whole time. I think you summed it up really well. And that's it. You know, if you're listening to this, you're starting over, you're reinventing, drop us a note, let us know. hit the subscribe button, hit the review button, whatever you can do to support. It's free. It's helpful for our channel as we grow and we continue to bring these topics to you. We want to know how it's impacted your life. And if you're looking to connect with Dr. Alex, do that on dralexspinoso.com. Follow him on social media at Dr. Alex Spinoso. Free courses are also available on the website. So if you're a medical entrepreneur or in business and you are wanting to see how you can go to the next level, check out the free courses. Also, really amazing mastermind happening. So if you want to know more about scaling and growing your medical business, check out joincharismatics.com. There's a lot of resources on all those platforms. Get connected, stay connected, and make sure you're tuning in next time because we can't wait to share what we have next.
Yep. Looking forward to it, guys. Go to joincharismatics.com. We are going to have an event, last event of the year, but it's going to be massive. It's going to be free, but highly selective. We're going to bring clinic owners in from all over the country into the Cowboys Center, Dallas Cowboys Club in November. So more details on that soon to follow. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.